My golden child sister set her wedding on the exact same day as mine. That sentence cut through the table like glass shattering under pressure. Our parents laughed first like it was clever, not cruel. The candles flickered, catching the gold in her hair. I kept my hand still, tracing the rim of my water glass. "You're fine with that, right?" she asked, voice soft and venomous. I nodded once. Of course. They mistook silence for surrender. What they didn't see was the guest list already waiting in my planner. 2 months later, that same table would fall silent for a very different reason. The first time I realized silence could keep me safe, I was 8. Sienna, my sister, stood on the front steps, her dress catching the morning light while Mom fussed with her hair for a local ad shoot. "Smile wider, honey," Mom said, voice warm, eyes soft. Behind them, I held the lunchbox I'd packed myself, waiting for someone to notice. No one did. At school, I worked hard. Grades were my way of earning space. When I came home waving a test marked 100, Dad barely looked up from the newspaper. "Don't make your sister feel bad," he said. His voice was flat, but the words cut clean. I folded the paper, careful not to crease the red ink, and slipped it into my desk drawer. That became a habit, folding anything that proved I'd tried. Sienna was always the golden one. When she failed a class, Mom blamed the teacher. When I aced mine, she said nothing. On my 13th birthday, the cake had her name on it too. "We thought it'd be fun to celebrate together," Mom explained. Sienna blew out every candle before I could touch one. I learned to clap for her even when it burned. Our father worked long hours at an insurance office. He came home smelling like ink and disappointment. I became useful washing dishes, checking bills, managing the quiet parts of the house. He liked that. "You're reliable," he'd say. It never sounded like love. In high school, I developed a crush on a boy from my math class. I told Sienna once, just once, while braiding her hair. She smiled into the mirror, then went out with him the next week. When I cried, Mom said, "Don't be dramatic. He just prefers pretty girls." That was the night I stopped sharing things I cared about. College wasn't an option. "Sienna needs the tuition more," Dad said. So I got a job right after graduation, typing invoices in a gray cubicle. My old teacher, Mr. Ellis, helped me apply. "You're sharp, Bonnie," he said. "Don't let them make you small." I thanked him, but small felt safe. I moved out at 22 into a one-bedroom apartment downtown. It was quiet, white walls, ticking clock shelves lined with color-coded files. I liked the order. I woke up early, made coffee, checked my planner. Every entry was written by hand. I didn't trust memory, it bends too easily. Sometimes Sienna called not to ask about me, but to brag. Her new car, her new dress, her new followers. Our parents adored her stories. "She's doing so well," Mom said once. "You could learn from her." I nodded as always. Silence kept the peace. But inside that quiet, something else grew a precision. I learned how to wait, how to listen, how to notice what everyone else missed. The folded papers of my childhood turned into the lists and receipts of my adulthood. Proof stacked neatly in drawers. That was when I understood silence wasn't peace. It was preparation. The call came on a Tuesday night. Rain tapped against the window while I updated the guest list on my planner. The screen lit up Sienna. I almost didn't answer. "Hey," she said, her tone too bright. "So, funny thing, my wedding date just got confirmed. It's the same day as yours." For a second, all I heard was the clock. "The same day," I repeated. "Yeah. But you're doing something small anyway, right? Just family." She laughed lightly. "Our relatives will be at mine, obviously. I mean, it makes sense." The line went quiet long enough for her to notice. "Bonnie, you're okay with that, right?" I stared at the circle of ink on my planner, the one that marked my date. The pen was still in my hand, its tip pressed into the paper until the mark deepened, bled a little. "Yes," I said finally. "I'm okay with it." When the call ended, I sat in the dark for a long time. The only sound was the rain. My reflection in the window looked calm, almost detached, but my hand had gone cold. Later that night, Mom called. "Your sister's venue is much bigger," she said cheerfully. "Everyone will be there. You can do yours quiet, maybe after theirs ends." Dad chimed in from the background. "Be supportive, Bonnie. It's her big day." "Of course," I said again. The same 2 words. When the line cut, I flipped open my planner. 2 identical circles glowed under the desk lamp, hers and mine. I wrote one small note beside mine. Confirmed. Do not move. They would call it coincidence. They would say I didn't mind. But I knew better. They'd spent years teaching me to stay small, stay silent, stay in the shadows. This time, I would stay right where I was under the same light they thought belonged only to her. The morning after that call, I woke up before the alarm. The apartment was gray and still the kind of quiet that sounds like waiting. Steam from my coffee fogged the window, blurring the skyline of Chicago. I opened my planner and ran a finger over the word confirmed. The ink had dried smooth. At 8 sharp, I walked into the office. I'd been at that company 9 years long enough to know how to make things happen without being noticed. While the others chatted about their weekend plans, I opened the HR portal and began drafting an internal memo. Invitation to the Carter Reed wedding formal attendance requested. I didn't send it yet. I just saved it as a draft, my cursor blinking like a heartbeat. By noon, I had called the event coordinator. Yes, I said we'll keep the same date. She hesitated. Are you sure? The other family? I'm sure, I interrupted gently, but we'll need the grand ballroom instead, of course, Ms. Reed. That night, I told Liam, my fiancé, about the call. He was quiet for a long time, then asked, You're really not changing it, no? He nodded once, his expression unreadable. Then we do it right. Proper guest list, proper lighting, proper sound. I smiled faintly. Proper silence. The following week unfolded like a montage no one saw. Click. The sound of my keyboard as I finalized the HR email. Swipe. The pen marking each confirmed RSVP from executives and department heads. Print. The stack of envelopes sealed with gold wax. Check. Payments cleared for the ballroom, catering, and live music. Every task felt exact. Deliberate. The rhythm, steady and cold. Silence, I realized, was not absence. It was control. Mom called again midway through the week. Your sister's reception is going to be beautiful, she said. You'll come by to help set up, won't you? I looked at the file of invoices beside me. I'll be busy that day, I said. Busy? But it's her wedding, yes, I said softly. It is. She didn't notice the difference in my tone. She never did. At night, I'd spread everything on the dining table, the seating chart, the printed guest list, the timeline for the ceremony. Liam sat across from me, reviewing details. You're sure this isn't too much? He asked once. Not enough, I replied. He smiled slow and proud. Then let's make it perfect. We visited the venue together a week later. The grand ballroom stretched wide and luminous chandeliers scattering light like ice. It's elegant, I told the manager, but keep it understated. Yes, ma'am. I touched the fabric of the drapes, thick, ivory soft, under my fingertips. No excess decoration. I want people to hear the quiet. The staff looked puzzled. Liam didn't. He understood. Each night I recorded small details, the final guest count, the seating for Mr. Carter, Liam's father, the CEO. I adjusted schedules, reserved parking for senior executives, arranged for live musicians from the company's charity gala list. Every name I added made Sienna's guest list thinner by default. She and her fiancé Noah had chosen the same venue complex, 2 halls, same floor. She thought it would humiliate me. When the final confirmation email arrived from HR attendance mandatory for all upper management, I read it twice, then archived it. One evening, I found an old box in my closet. Inside, among old papers, was the folded test I'd once hidden as a child. The red 100 still glared through the creases. I unfolded it carefully and laid it flat on the table. Next to it, I placed the current wedding schedule rows of printed names, sealed approvals receipts. Same shape, same order, different meaning. Liam walked in and paused. What's that A reminder? I said. He looked at the paper, then at me. You're calm, he said. I learned from the best. Your family, no, I said. They're mistakes. The night before the wedding, I barely slept. I ironed the dress, checked the planner one last time, and placed it by the window where the dawn light would hit first. The city outside was quiet, traffic muted. I watched the sun rise, its reflection turning the glass gold. At 7 a.m., my phone buzzed Mom again. Your sister's so nervous, she said. She keeps asking if you're jealous. I'm not, I said. Tell her not to worry. I won't get in her way. You're such a good girl. Mom sighed relief in her voice. I hung up before she could hear me whisper, not anymore. In the stillness that followed, I could almost hear the next day breathing, waiting. 2 weddings, 1 date, same address. They thought it would crush me. They didn't realize they just booked a front row seat to their own silence. The air that morning felt heavier than usual, almost metallic, the kind of quiet that comes before a storm, calm but charged. I arrived early, the hem of my dress brushing against the marble floor of the hotel lobby. Staff hurried past with bouquets and trays of champagne, 2 signs at the entrance reading, Ballroom A, Reed Carter, Wedding. Ballroom, B. Sienna and Noah. Same day, same building, 2 versions of the truth. Our ceremony began at noon. Guests filed in, voices low, the air humming with polite laughter. I watched the rows fill Mr. Carter near the front, his colleagues, Liam's friends, my co-workers. The room glowed under crystal chandeliers. When the string quartet started playing, the sound vibrated through the floor like a heartbeat. Upstairs, a florist whispered to a passing waiter, "Didn't half the guests cancel on the other wedding?" The waiter nodded. Something about a company event. By the time the vows were spoken, the other hall was nearly empty. When I turned toward Liam and said, "I do," the applause was soft but full, a sound that felt earned. Through the tall windows, I caught a glimpse of Sienna in the courtyard below her gown. Brilliant, her expression fractured. Noah beside her, pacing his phone pressed tight to his ear. Half an hour later, as our reception began, they entered. I noticed them before anyone else did. Mom, Dad, Sienna, and Noah all dressed for the wrong room. Their faces shifted when they saw the crowd, the executives, the press photographers, the Carter family gathered together like a constellation of power. Sienna blinked, trying to process. Why are all my guests here?" she whispered. Noah's voice cracked. "These are my company's clients. Why are they here?" Mr. Carter stood, then his presence quiet but absolute. "It's strange, isn't it?" he said. 2 weddings, 1 date, but only one of them is my son's." The microphone on the stage caught his words, sending them across the ballroom. A silence spread clean and absolute. Mom's smile faltered. Dad tried to recover. "We didn't know." Mr. Carter turned toward them, his tone mild. "You didn't have to. Some people only understand order when it stops including them." Sienna reached for Noah's arm. "Say something." He stepped back instead, his collar tight. "You told me this date would humiliate her." Sienna's voice shook. "You agreed." Their argument spilled into the quiet like static. Guests exchanged looks. Cameras flashed. I didn't move. I stood by the table, glass in hand, the same posture I'd held during the dinner where it all began. The reflection of the chandelier flickered on the surface of my drink. My planner sat on the table beside the guest book, closed clean. Mr. Carter spoke again, softer this time. "Let's keep this day for the people who earned it." At his signal, the staff guided the intruders out calmly, politely, the way you remove noise from a room meant for music. As the doors closed behind them, the quartet began a new piece, slow and measured. The tension melted into applause. I raised my glass, not high, just enough to see my own reflection tremble slightly in the wine. Liam touched my hand. "They're gone," he said quietly. "I know." Across the hall, I caught the faint echo of another door slamming, Ballroom B most likely. Someone shouting, then nothing. The sound dissolved into the music, into the soft hum of conversation. "They came to see me fail," I said under my breath. Instead, they saw what silence can build. Liam smiled, small and steady, and destroy. We clinked glasses, once not for victory, but for balance restored. The rest of the evening unfolded in calm waves, no speeches, no drama, just the steady rhythm of forks against porcelain laughter that belonged in the right room this time. When it ended, I took one last look around the chandelier light, the guests, the polished floor, where my reflection stood clear and unbroken. The silence they left behind was perfect. The morning after the wedding, the city was washed clean. The skyline glowed pale gold through the window, the streets below damp and quiet. I stood in the kitchen, barefoot, stirring sugar into my coffee. The cup clicked softly against the counter, steady measured. Liam was still asleep. The sound of his breathing blended with the hum of the refrigerator. On the dining table lay my planner, closed now, its pages slightly warped from overuse. Beside it, our marriage certificate rested flat under the morning light. The seal caught a shimmer the same color as the ink I'd used to circle that date months ago. For years, I had folded proof of myself small enough to hide in drawers, grades, receipts, unspoken things. Yesterday, I finally unfolded them all. No confrontation, no raised voices. Just a quiet line drawn straight through everything that used to hurt. I thought of Sienna. Maybe she woke to silence too. An empty inbox, an unanswered call, the sound of her own reflection cracking. Maybe our parents sat in their house still trying to understand the moment the room stopped clapping for them. I didn't feel joy imagining it, just distance. The kettle whistled softly. I turned it off before it grew loud. Liam entered, hair mussed, eyes half open. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I replied. He leaned against the counter. "You okay?" I nodded. Yes, finally. We didn't talk about the wedding. We didn't need to. It had already done what it needed to end something old, begin something quiet. When he left for work, the apartment settled into a calm rhythm again. I opened the window slightly. The air smelled like rain and bakery bread from the shop downstairs. Somewhere far off, a train moved through the city, its horn low and fading. I sat at the table, opened my planner one last time, and drew a clean line under the final entry, "Reed Carter Wedding Completed." Then I closed it and placed it beside the certificate. The light shifted across both papers, merging them into one soft reflection. Silence this time didn't mean absence. It meant ownership. In families like mine, power doesn't shout, it withdraws. And when it does, the room finally learns what silence sounds like. It isn't empty, it's earned. It's the sound of boundaries settling into place of peace, finding its own volume after years of being spoken over. If this story stayed with you, stay for the next one. Every silence hides a reckoning. Every reckoning starts with one quiet act of courage. Subscribe, keep listening, and let's uncover how calm can become the loudest justice of all. New stories each week where revenge speaks softly.